Hey guys, Robin here with my assistant storyteller Nana. I am working on what I'm calling Project San Francisco 95, making a homebrew chronicle for my gaming groups that takes place in the San Francisco World of Darkness setting as it was presented in the early materials, most notably the novels Prince of the City by Keith Herber, Dark Prince by Keith Herber, and The Beast Within anthology of short stories, all of which take place, mostly anyway, all take place in San Francisco in the early to mid 90s. You might want to follow along if you're looking for ideas on how to build your own chronicle, or you're just interested in seeing where this goes. Now, the first thing I'm doing is thoroughly rereading these sources of canon lore for this chronicle and figure out what are the great things that I loved about these that I want to bring into the chronicle that I'm going to be running. So the first one I'm looking at is the first edition supplement, A World of Darkness. This one came out in, I think, 1992, and it details a number of interesting places in the World of Darkness where you might have a story taking place. The last chapter is about the Vampire Club in San Francisco. The Vampire Club in San Francisco was really the prototypical Kindred Elysium lounge where the vampires gathered to socialize and spin their webs of political intrigue. And even though that sort of setting might have even become sort of kind of cliche, I think you'll agree with me that the Vampire Club in San Francisco still holds up in terms of the cool factor. Now, a bit of background about this club. So the story starts in 1906 when a local millionaire buys this luxury yacht, the likes of which has never really been seen before. But this extravagant fellow makes bad life choices and he ends up going bankrupt. Long story short, the local venture primogen, Vannevar Thomas, ends up with ownership of this yacht. Originally, his intention is for it to be a mobile luxury haven. But then the big earthquake in 1906 happens, and this yacht, while remaining largely structurally intact, is knocked by a big wave is grounded in the Marina District. Now, at the same time, and I guess we'll probably be talking a lot more about this later, Vannevar Thomas had bigger things to worry about. He took advantage of the 1906 earthquake to become prince, and again, we'll probably go into more of that later. But at the time, he just purchases the land around where the yacht is so that it can be undisturbed. He guts it of all the damaged equipment and whatnot, and just for the moment leaves it there. Now, separate, excuse me, separate but connected, a very powerful ancient toreador named Endymion, a couple years later, comes to San Francisco on a little bit of a tour, and he is welcomed by Vannevar, who entertains him and his child, his new child that he brought, a new young toreador named Sebastian Melmoth, who is in actuality the historical figure Oscar Wilde. Now, they really enjoyed their time in San Francisco. They got a tour of this, beach boat, and eventually Endymion leaves to go back to the UK. But Sebastian was so taken with San Francisco that he asked permission to stay, and his sire and the Prince Vannevar agreed, and he stays. A couple years after that, he approaches Vannevar with an idea of turning that yacht into a prestigious vampire club. Vannevar agrees, and while Vannevar owns it, on paper, I guess, Sebastian Melmoth is really the engine behind the Vampire Club, and definitely the person that runs it. So here's what he does. First, they built a hall over top of and around the yacht, functionally making a building where the yacht was the basement of the inside of the building. The hall that's above the yacht becomes what's known as the Alexandrian Club. Now, this is sort of unique, I think, in the Alexandrian Club. The purpose of it is to be a social club for retainers. This is a place where ghouls can, either because they're awaiting their masters who are downstairs in the Vampire Club, or because they just have a night off and they want to socialize amongst their kind, they want to make connections with other retainers. This setting does sort of a unique thing by giving ghouls their own club where they can kind of network. So the retainers of various kindred often know each other or know how to contact each other, can provide each other with support or with political friction. But the retainers in this setting kind of have their own scene. Now, the Alexandrian Club is run by another Toreador named Tex R. Canon. He is an influential, sort of a up-and-coming figure, probably politically quite powerful because of his position here, but he runs the Alexandrian Club. Now, below the Alexandrian Club, in the basement, which is actually inside this yacht, is what is called the Vampire Club. Now, the Vampire Club is kindred only. Since its opening, not one human has gone beyond the door into that club and either not been embraced or killed. It is kindred only. The Vampire Club I'll show you some pictures in here. So the book comes with, pictures of the floor plan of the club. But here's some things that are cool about this club. Number one, the Alexandrian Club itself has evolved to be not just a social club, a members-only club for retainers, but more along the lines of a social club for people that are in the know. First off, a lot of kindred, and the book states this, like the Alexandrian Club so much that they mostly hang out there and they don't often go downstairs into the actual Vampire Club. But the Alexandrian Club now hosts not just retainers and kindred, but also various humans that for one reason or other are in the know. In particular, it talks about mages. San Francisco, and definitely in other videos we'll be talking about this more, is a very magical city. It is of big interest to human magic users, and those of them that are in the know about the whole vampire thing are welcome at that club to hang out too. So because there's other types of supernaturals there, not just vampires, it gives this club kind of an interesting vibe. There's a lot of potential for things to happen there. Now, downstairs in the Vampire Club, one of the things that makes it unique, or at least after World War II, is that it's not just a very popular night spot for kindred. I think the book says there that if characters go there at any given time, there's at least 6 to 12 local kindred that are just hanging out. And it caters to all types. Anarchs go there, Camarilla kindred go there. The book mentions that sometimes the Brujah rent out parts of it for their rants. You can really find all types. Now, an interesting thing happens in 1946 in this setting. And this is first mentioned in this book, in the World of Darkness book. Bring the page again so I can open it. So, in this book, it's called the Palatine Treaty, which happens in 1946. It goes down a little bit different in the novels. We'll get to that in another video, but basically, a year after the Anarch Revolt in LA, when LA becomes the Anarch Free Territories. The Camarilla, with San Francisco being sort of the last bastion of Camarilla might on the West Coast, the Camarilla becomes particularly concerned with what they view as Vannevar's liberal policies. For the most part, aside from Sabbat, everyone's welcome. So a lot of types of kindred that wouldn't be acceptable to a lot of other princes, Ravnos, followers of Set. And in these times, in particular, anarchs were more than welcome. Even despite what happened in LA, Vannevar had maintained, I'm not going to say friendly relations with the anarchs, but he in fact was very liberal about his relationship with them. This was a big concern to the Camarilla, who were really concerned that San Francisco was just going to become the next LA. In the World of Darkness book, which is what we're talking about today, it says that a conclave was called in 1946. That there was weeks of heated negotiations. It doesn't really go further into detail, but surprisingly, rather than enforce their way upon Vannevar, something very different happens, where the Justicars end up signing a treaty granting San Francisco rather extreme autonomy. Now, what does that have to do with the Vampire Club? Well, at the time, again, this was sort of the prototypical club like this. At the time, this was kind of a novel idea. And kindred from all over the world would come here to use this place as sort of a neutral ground to conduct meetings, negotiations, what have you. So not only can you go to this club and meet a random assortment of local kindred, there's a strong possibility that there could be something else going down as well. Visiting dignitaries, maybe a Justicars in town stopping by. There's all sorts of potential for some really interesting things to be going down there. So what am I going to be doing with that space? For my Chronicle. I'm an old school gamer. I love random tables. So one of the things I'm going to do, aside from use this pretty much exactly as it is in my Chronicle. Oh, by the way, it also provides a lot of details and stats for the two Toreador that run this club. Sebastian Melmoth, who operates the place as a whole and who manages the Vampire Club, and Tex R. Canon, who is the Toreador that runs the Alexandrian Club up top. Pretty much going to use the Vampire Club setting as it is in my Chronicle. I'm also going to spend some time making up some random tables so that when players go to this place, we can quickly figure out a random assortment of people that are there and roll for the potential of something bigger happening. I want to have a number of subplots that are triggered by random visits to Elysium, to the Vampire Club. So, there's the broader Chronicle that's going on, but also, just by going to this place, you could trigger very significant subplots that are sort of pre-planned little stories that will happen, or maybe not happen. Now, in terms of, I guess from a review standpoint, this was really, really early. Again, I think this came up in 1992. But I think that it really holds up. It does a great job of establishing this little this setting. It gives it a really unique vibe. It goes into a lot of details about describing the different rooms and whatnot. It's a legitimately cool place. So I think it's very well written. The stats for the Toreador, they're easy enough to convert into whatever edition I could be running this in. So overall, this is actually a great little product. It's definitely going to be used in my Chronicle. Thanks.